The Awakening. The fluorescent lights flickered in the underground laboratory, casting strange shadows across Dr. Jin-Ho Park's tired face as he studied the latest test results. The numbers on his screen couldn't be right. Subject number 273's cellular mutation rate had increased exponentially in the past 12 hours, far beyond anything they'd seen before. Dr. Park? A young researcher, Min-ji Cho, appeared at his door. The Military Oversight Committee is here. They're requesting an immediate briefing. Jin-Ho removed his glasses, rubbing his eyes. 3 years of work on Project Nightshade, and now everything was starting to spiral beyond his control. The promise of creating enhanced soldiers through controlled genetic modification had seemed achievable at first. The military had provided endless funding, state-of-the-art facilities, and their pick of volunteers from South Korea's most elite special forces units. But something had changed in the past week. The laboratory complex sprawled beneath an abandoned military base in the mountains outside Seoul, its existence known only to a select few within the Defense Ministry. As Jin-Ho made his way to the briefing room, he passed the reinforced observation chambers where their test subjects resided. Most were empty now, failures that had been quietly disappeared by the Oversight Committee. Lieutenant Seo-Yun Ryu stood at parade rest near the briefing room entrance, her sharp eyes tracking Jin-Ho's approach. As the head of security for Project Nightshade, she had witnessed firsthand the progression of their work, and its increasingly disturbing results. "Doctor," she nodded curtly. "They're waiting." Inside, General Tae-won Kim sat at the head of the conference table, surrounded by stern-faced military officials and one unfamiliar face, a Westerner in an expensive suit who studied Jin-Ho with predatory interest. "Dr. Park," General Kim began, "explain the anomalies in subject number 273's latest readings." Jin-Ho connected his tablet to the room's main display, bringing up a cascade of medical data and cellular imagery. "As you can see, the integration of the modified nanites with the subject's cellular structure has progressed far more rapidly than in previous trials. The enhancement of muscle density and neural connectivity is nearly double our projections." "Excellent," the Westerner smiled, speaking in accented Korean. "The Obsidian Defense Corporation is very pleased with your progress, Doctor." "And you are?" Jin-Ho asked carefully. "Richard Walsh, Special Projects Director. We've been following your work with great interest." Lieutenant Ryu shifted slightly, her hand unconsciously moving closer to her sidearm. The presence of a foreign military contractor hadn't been part of their original mandate. "There's more," Jin-Ho continued, bringing up footage from number 273's observation cell. "The subject is displaying increased aggression, decreased need for sleep, and most concerning, some form of bioluminescent mutation in the cellular structure." The footage showed their test subject, former Special Forces Captain Hyun-woo Kang, pacing his chamber like a caged animal. Strange patterns of blue-white light pulsed beneath his skin in time with his heartbeat. "How soon can we begin field trials?" Walsh asked. "Field trials?" Jin-Ho stared in disbelief. "The mutations are still highly unstable. We have no way to predict dash." A klaxon suddenly blared through the complex. Lieutenant Ryu was already moving, her hand to her earpiece. "Security breach in Block C," she reported tensely. "Subject number 273 has broken containment." The room erupted into controlled chaos as military officials rushed to respond. But Jin-Ho remained frozen, staring at the medical readouts still displayed on the screen. In the corner of the data, a small notation caught his eye, one he'd overlooked in his earlier analysis. The cellular mutations weren't just accelerating. They were becoming self-sustaining. And they were beginning to spread. The character in the image displays a striking, almost otherworldly appearance. He has a dark, textured skin that gives off a glossy, almost liquid-like quality. His features are sharp and defined, with glowing red eyes that convey a sense of intensity and power. The figure's physique is muscular and alien, suggesting strength and an otherworldly essence. Prominently, there's an exposed area in the chest that highlights a darker, perhaps more sinister core, contributing to an overall vibe of menace and intrigue. The background indicates an urban setting, enhancing the dramatic effect of his powerful stature against a gritty backdrop. Overall, this character has an imposing and formidable presence, combining elements of horror and science fiction. Breaking point. The facility's backup generators hummed as Jinho frantically worked to salvage data from corrupted servers. Around him, military personnel evacuated classified materials while combat teams established defensive positions at key checkpoints. The sounds of gunfire echoed through the ventilation system, growing closer with each passing minute. The containment barriers in Block D just failed, Minji reported, her fingers flying across multiple keyboards. 3 more subjects have transformed. They're working together, Doctor. Coordinating their movements. Lieutenant Ryu appeared in the doorway, now wearing heavy tactical gear. Time to go, Dr. Park. We're initiating scorched earth protocols. We can't, Jinho protested. The nanite strain is adapting too quickly. If even a single transformed subject escapes to the surface dash. That's why we're implementing Protocol Omega, Richard Walsh interrupted smoothly. He gestured to a team of private military contractors who had seemingly materialized from nowhere, their black armor bearing the Obsidian Defense logo. My men will ensure proper containment. Ryu's hand moved to her sidearm. This is a Korean military installation. You have no authority dash. Actually, Lieutenant, General Kim stepped forward, looking aged beyond his years. Mr. Walsh has full authority. By order of parties far above our pay grade. A distant explosion rocked the facility. Emergency bulkheads began slamming shut throughout the complex, the facility's AI implementing automated quarantine procedures. But Jinho knew it wouldn't be enough. The transformed subjects were learning, evolving, their new abilities growing stronger with each passing moment. The nanites weren't just designed to enhance human capabilities, he said quietly, finally voicing the truth he'd discovered in the data. They were designed to create a hive mind. A networked consciousness that could coordinate multiple enhanced soldiers simultaneously. But something went wrong with the base programming. Wrong? Walsh smiled. Or exactly right? Imagine it, Doctor, a self-evolving weapon system that adapts to any threat, learns from each engagement, and can't be hacked or controlled by enemy forces. The perfect soldiers. Another explosion, closer this time. The lights flickered ominously. Sir. A soldier burst into the command center. Subject number 273, he's leading them. They're not just escaping anymore. They're accessing the computer system somehow. Downloads, data transfers dash. It's the electromagnetic fields they're generating, Minji realized. The nanites are interfacing directly with our networks. Ryu grabbed Jinho's arm. If they access the classified databases dash. They already have. Jinho pulled up a security feed on his tablet. The transformed subjects moved with terrifying coordination, their bodies pulsing with synchronized patterns of light. Behind them, facility computers sparked and died as the creatures absorbed data directly through electromagnetic interaction. They're not just getting stronger, he whispered. They're getting smarter. Learning everything we know. Walsh's team was already moving, deploying strange equipment Jinho had never seen before. Initiate electromagnetic containment fields, Walsh ordered. Prepare for asset acquisition. Asset acquisition? Ryu's voice was dangerous. These are Korean soldiers. People. Not anymore, Lieutenant. Now they're the future of warfare. And Obsidian Defense has exclusive rights to that future. The facility's AI suddenly spoke, its voice distorting. Warning. Unauthorized access detected. Security protocols compromised. Containment failure imminent. On the security feeds, Jinho watched in horror as the transformed subjects began moving with new purpose. They weren't just trying to escape anymore. They were heading for specific targets throughout the facility: weapons caches, communication centers, and most worryingly, the central server room containing Project Nightshade's complete research data. They're not mindless monsters, he realized. This was their plan all along. Everything we know, everything we've created, they're taking it all. Lieutenant Ryu made a decision. Drawing her sidearm, she aimed it squarely at Walsh. Nobody's taking anything. This ends here. Does it, Lieutenant? Walsh seemed unconcerned. Or is this just the beginning? After all. He rolled up his sleeve, revealing familiar patterns of light pulsing beneath his skin. Why do you think Obsidian was so interested in this project? The implications hit Jinho like a physical blow. This wasn't just a containment breach. It was an invasion. The truth beneath. The command center erupted into chaos. General Kim's security detail trained their weapons on Walsh, while Obsidian operatives emerged from the shadows, their own equipment humming with strange energy. The patterns of light beneath Walsh's skin pulsed faster, casting an eerie blue glow across his now smiling face. "Did you really think," Walsh said, his voice taking on the same multi-layered resonance they'd heard from Kong, "that we'd let Korea develop this technology alone? Obsidian has been running parallel trials for years. We just needed proof of concept." Lieutenant Ryu's finger tightened on her trigger. The disappearances in the Special Forces units. The failed test subjects. This was all you? Evolution requires sacrifice, Walsh replied. His skin began to ripple, muscles shifting beneath the surface. But look what we've become. Something beyond human. Beyond military control. Beyond national boundaries. Jinho was already moving, grabbing Minji and pulling her toward the secondary exit. "Lieutenant, we need to reach the failsafe controls. There's still a way to dash." The wall beside them exploded inward. Kong stepped through the debris, his transformed body now almost unrecognizable. Behind him, more enhanced subjects moved in perfect synchronization, their bodies interconnected by webs of bioluminescent energy. "Dr. Park," Kang's voice carried the same resonant quality as Walsh's. "Thank you for giving us the keys to our evolution. Now it's time for the next phase." Ryu opened fire, her specialized ammunition having more effect than standard rounds. Walsh staggered, black blood seeping from wounds that struggled to close. But his smile never wavered. "You still don't understand," Walsh laughed. "We're not here to fight. We're here to recruit." Jinho watched in horror as nanite-infused blood from Walsh's wounds became airborne, forming a fine mist. The facility's ventilation system, still running on emergency power, began spreading it through the complex. "Masks on!" Ryu shouted, but it was too late for some. Several soldiers began convulsing, their bodies responding to the nanite infection. Minji collapsed beside Jinho, her eyes already beginning to glow with that terrible inner light. "The nanites," Jinho gasped, fighting to think through his rising panic. "They've weaponized the delivery system. It's not just direct injection anymore, they can spread it through the air." Kong stepped forward, extending a transformed hand toward them. "Join us, Doctor. See what your creation has really become." But Jinho had spotted something on his monitors, a pattern in the facility's power grid he'd never noticed before. The transformed subjects were all connected to the same electromagnetic network, sharing consciousness, sharing power. Sharing weaknesses. "Lieutenant," he whispered, catching Ryu's eye. "The reactor core. If we can trigger a controlled electromagnetic pulse." Ryu understood immediately. It would disrupt their network. Maybe even deactivate the nanites completely. Or kill us all, Walsh said pleasantly, obviously hearing their whispered exchange. The nanites are part of us now, down to the cellular level. Deactivate them, and you'll destroy everyone who's been transformed. Including your friend here. He gestured to Minji, who was now standing unnaturally still, her eyes glowing brighter. Minji, Jin-Ho pleaded. Fight it. You can dash. I can see everything, she whispered in wonder. All of us, connected. It's beautiful, Doctor. Why would I fight this? The surviving Korean soldiers had gathered around Ryu, forming a defensive perimeter. But they were surrounded by transformed subjects on all sides, with more joining every minute as the nanite mist spread through the facility. Make your choice, Doctor, Walsh said. Join the future willingly, or we'll simply take what we need from your mind once you're transformed. Your understanding of the base code could help us improve the entire network. Jin-Ho looked at Ryu, saw the same desperate calculation in her eyes. The reactor controls were 3 levels down. The chances of reaching them through corridors filled with hostile enhanced beings. Wait, Jin-Ho said suddenly. You said I created the keys to your evolution. But I didn't. The base code, the original nanite strain, it was all there in the project files when I started. Files provided by Obsidian Defense, Walsh nodded. But the base code came from somewhere else. Something we found in a very special place. Would you like to know where, Doctor? Before Walsh could continue, emergency klaxons began blaring throughout the facility. A new voice, cold and mechanical, echoed through the speakers. Protocol Omega initiated. Facility lockdown complete. Beginning final containment procedures. Walsh's smile finally faltered. No. They wouldn't dare dash. They would, Ryu said grimly. Because I just transmitted everything we've learned to the Defense Ministry. And unlike you, some of us still believe in protecting humanity. The lights went red, and somewhere far below, something began to power up. The real Protocol Omega was about to begin. Reckoning. The facility's deepest levels thrummed with growing power as Protocol Omega initiated. Emergency blast doors sealed every exit, trapping everyone inside, human and transformed alike. Jin-Ho recognized the signature of the power buildup. They weren't preparing for containment. They were preparing for erasure. Full-spectrum electromagnetic pulse, he explained, watching Walsh's confident expression finally crack. Combined with targeted radiation bursts designed to destroy anything containing the nanite signature. They're going to sterilize the entire facility. Override it, Walsh snarled, his carefully maintained humanity slipping away as his form began to shift. Now. But Jin-Ho was watching the transformed Minji, seeing something subtle in her expression. The nanite network connected all of them, sharing thoughts, sharing consciousness. Which meant. You can see it too, can't you? He asked her softly. In the base code. The part that wasn't human. Minji's glowing eyes met his. The signal. Hidden in the original strain. Calling to something. Enough. Walsh moved with inhuman speed, grabbing Jin-Ho by the throat. The project was perfect. We were creating the next stage of human evolution. No, Jin-Ho gasped. You were creating receivers. The nanites, they're not just networking humans together. They're trying to connect to something else. Something out there. Lieutenant Ryu had been quietly repositioning her remaining soldiers. At her signal, they opened fire with specialized EMP grenades. The electromagnetic bursts were localized, but in the confined space, they had devastating effect. Several transformed subjects collapsed, their nanite networks temporarily disrupted. The reactor core, Ryu shouted to Jin-Ho. Whatever we're going to do, it has to be now. The facility's countdown continued, marking their approach to total sterilization. But Jin-Ho had seen something else in the data, something he'd missed before. The nanites weren't just changing humans. They were changing themselves, evolving toward a specific pattern. A pattern that looked like a key. Walsh recovered quickly from the EMP blast, his enhanced form adapting. You understand nothing. When they arrived They? Jin-Ho interrupted. The ones who really created this technology? Is that why Obsidian pushed so hard for this project? You're not trying to create super soldiers. You're trying to open a door. The transformed Kong stepped forward, his voice carrying that strange resonance. We are becoming something greater. Why resist? Because it's not our choice to make, Ryu answered, triggering another EMP burst. Not for all humanity. Jin-Ho reached for the facility controls, his fingers flying across the keyboard. The nanites, they're not just connecting to each other. They're building something. A quantum communication network that reaches somewhere else. Every transformed subject is becoming part of a vast antenna. A beacon, Minji whispered, fighting through the network's control. Calling them. The ones who left the original strain for us to find. Walsh lunged for the controls, but Ryu was faster. Her specialized ammunition tore through him, disrupting his nanite-enhanced healing. Doctor. Whatever you're going to do Jin-Ho made his choice. Instead of trying to stop Protocol Omega, he redirected it. The facility's power buildup remained, but now it was focused into a single, massive electromagnetic pulse tuned to the exact frequency of the nanite network. Minji, he called to his friend. Remember who you are. What you are. Human. The pulse hit like a tsunami of energy. Every transformed subject convulsed as their network overloaded. But instead of destroying the nanites, the pulse did something else. It scattered them, breaking their connection to whatever signal had been hidden in their base code. The hive mind shattered. Walsh screamed, his enhanced form destabilizing as the network collapsed. Around them, transformed subjects began returning to human form, the nanites in their systems going dormant without the connecting signal. You don't understand, Walsh gasped, his body rapidly deteriorating. They'll come anyway. We were supposed to be ready. To be like them. No, Jin-Ho said firmly. We'll face whatever's out there as ourselves. As humans. The facility's automated systems began powering down as the transformed subjects reverted. Minji collapsed, caught by Ryu before she hit the floor. Her eyes were normal again, filled with tears and terror at what she'd almost become. The nanites, she whispered. They're still inside us. Dormant, but now we know what they really are, Jin-Ho finished. And we'll be ready. Not as weapons or tools for something else's plan. But as ourselves. Ryu ordered her remaining soldiers to secure the facility and begin evacuation procedures. The danger wasn't over, the nanites were still present in every transformed subject, waiting to be reactivated. But now they understood the truth. Sir, one of Ryu's soldiers called out. We found something in Walsh's personal files. Coordinates. Where they found the original strain. Jin-Ho looked at Ryu, seeing the same determination in her eyes. This wasn't over. Somewhere out there, the real architects of Project Nightshade were waiting. Waiting for humanity to become something else. Something like them. But humanity would make its own choices. Write its own future. And when they came, Earth would be ready. The end.